Welcome back to If Just for Today. Today's If Just for Today is let me learn how to manage my expectations. Expectations is such a interesting word in itself, and also the concept of it, because naturally we have expectations. And I know in my case, many expectations are sometimes very unrealistic. And when our expectations are, if we don't manage them, they will manage us. As I like to say, expectations are the ungerminated seeds of resentment, of not when they're going to, if they're going to germinate, but when. So learning how to manage expectations, that's a whole nother process. I used to pray to God to, you know, give me the power to manage my expectations. Well, that's a process. It's a learning skill. Like all of these other skills that we're talking and all of the if just for today's, they're all learning skills. And yes, many of them are hyperlinked to each other and some aren't, but most are. And it's a process. It's a process that takes time. It's a process that takes commitment. And for me, it's a process that I cannot do alone. For me, I need God because God has gifted me with way too much for me not to be grateful to God for all the blessings and grace he has shown me. And dealing with my expectations is really something I'm very grateful to God for his compassion and also my stiff-neckedness. And what do I mean by that? Um, I want what I want when I want it. Actually, I got to rephrase it. That's what I used to. I still want it, but today I definitely have all these tools that I can use to manage it. But in managing it, I have to make a choice. I have to not only make a choice, I have to make a sacrifice because it's not easy, these choices. Uh, and why do I say they're not easy? Because the easy way is not to have to think about, not have to, and let your expectations run wild, let your emotions run wild. You know, um, the whole purpose of this is to learn how to remove our emotions. And an expectation is actually part of our emotion process. I want to incorporate in my life more of the knowledge aspect. And I'm not talking about the knowledge that we're given on what I call fake media. I'm talking about the knowledge that we get from a higher power, a knowledge that we get from God. For me, that knowledge is what I have received from the Torah, from the New Testament, the Old Testament. These things that have such value and wisdom, and so many choose to either not pay attention to them, worse, not know them at all. And I was guilty, trust me, I was totally guilty of that till about 6 years ago. And three, do know it, but choose to interpret it very corruptly. And that's another, maybe a whole nother video as far as how we can corrupt what we do know how it should be, but we choose to interpret it the way that we want to hear it. And we all have a bias in our lives. That's just how the subconscious works. Some people have a bias to chocolate chip mint ice cream. Some people have a bias to chocolate. It doesn't make one right or wrong. But when your bias is changing accurate information, that's where it does become a difference between right and wrong. And expectations is something that so many people do not fully understand, how their expectations are actually controlling them subconsciously. And if your expectations are controlling you subconsciously, you are not driving, you're not the driver in your life. Outside influences are your drivers. And the whole purpose of all of this is for each and every person that chooses to want to work on themselves to be a better human being. And I hope you ingratiate God, because I think if you do ingratiate God, the process is going to be much easier. I'm not going to say it's not going to be possible without ingratiating God. For me, I say it is not possible. That's for me. I'm not going to make that statement for somebody else. But I truly do believe those that do, the easier path, you'll have a path of less resistance. But that's not the point of this. The point is, how do we expect things to turn out? And when you have these expectations, what ends up happening, your mind starts wandering. So what if this, what if that, you know, all of these what ifs. Every time there's a what if in your life, that's another layer of serenity pulled away from you. And expectations is, for me, one of the quickest ways to strip all serenity from one's life. We're never going to be in serenity 24/7. I don't believe that's possible. But I do believe it's possible to be in serenity most of one's life if they so choose. And again, the process is not something that you do just say, oh, I'm going to be happy today. You know, we all get depressed. That's part of life. You don't have to take a pill to fix something that's natural in life. Actually, it's the wrong thing to do, because while you're covering it up, taking an anti-anxiety or a pain pill or what, I don't care what it is. You know, if people really knew what I went through and the amount of things I turned down by choice, and thank God God gave me that strength to turn them down. And believe me, there were times where I really needed, I don't care if it was anti-anxiety or pain pills. I just, and that's the gift that God graced me with my swimming. The fact that I can go in that pool, back then it was 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. Today it's always an hour. That gave me that little nudge of extra strength that I needed. And I'm hoping, actually, I'm not only hoping, I'm praying that each and every person that sees these videos, that it will bring them that desire to want to. Because I will say this, I truly believe anybody who works at this congruently, with an honest heart, with honest commitment, and I highly recommend developing a relationship with a sponsor. And what is a sponsor? A sponsor is somebody who's actually a little further down the road than you are. They're already working their program, their journey of life. You know, when we try to do it alone, it is so difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is near impossible. It's really important to have others in one's life, especially others that are on the same path. You don't want to go with somebody that is on, well, um, a path of degradation, a path of self-destruction. You're not going to grow that way. You want somebody that you admire and that you wish you had what they do have. I think that really does help on this journey. And expectations is learning, for me, learning to manage them. I think some expectations are definitely good. I'm not saying have no expectations, not at all. Because if you don't have any expectation, then you'll never strive to do anything. So the idea is to learn how to balance it. And that is true about every one of these, if just for today. Actually, it shouldn't be if just for today, it should be about learning how to balance for today. Because that's really what this is all about. Every one of these is about learning how to balance. As you've heard me say in the past, many of our character defects are actually some of our greatest assets. It's just that we let them get out of control. And I say we, because we make a choice. And this goes back to the term of sacrifice. And what is sacrifice? Sacrifice means that you're willing to commit the time and an honest effort. And I truly believe anyone who truly commits the time and an honest effort, and especially has a good sponsor with them, I don't care if that sponsor could be a good friend, but it has to be somebody that has, I like to say, more wisdom than you do at that moment. Doesn't mean you won't have more wisdom than them at the end of the journey, but at that moment, they are the person is your go-to. Anyway, this was my story on expectations, if just for today. And it, as I like to say, it's in this, the word learned, I want to thank Gary for it, because I had a different word on the original, if just for today's. And Gary pointed out to me that, aren't we learning it? It's not a light switch. It's not that we have it or don't have it. It's a learning process, and we gradually work into it. So I want to thank all of you for being here. And I truly and pray that this resonates with you and hopefully helps. And if you do like this, please hit the subscribe and to hit the subscribe to all, because I know some people have mentioned that they're not getting the notifications. They may have just subscribed to the one video. You need to subscribe to the channel. And also, I would appreciate you hitting the like button if you like it. And please feel free to leave a comment. And most importantly, I say this on everyone, if you know people that are open-minded and would like to hear this message, please share it, because this is meant to be shared. And if just for today, I want to say thank you and God bless you. Have a wonderful day.